Hey Alpha Fam, is it just me or does it seem like crypto Twitter seems a little extra jumpy these days?
We're on express elevator to hell, going down.
2, 1, mark.
Welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission, and today I just wanted to go over something a little bit interesting going on in the stock market that may affect the rest of the markets, including crypto. And of course, we have the Bitcoin chart just, going up and down the way that we've been doing in a general downtrend, but with this kind of like local uptrend, more or less. The highs aren't really printing, so it's a very weak pattern, but it is something that we've seen similar to these, type of formations before we do pop, right? We get this type of triangle kind of tightly wound somewhere, and then we pop. Whether we pop up or down, that's that's a good question, right? But however, we are getting into the end of that, and if we just take a look really quick, you can kind of see the formation that we're in. This one's a little bit more elaborate than the other ones I showed you before, but whatever. I have a lot of groups here. So if you look at this one, you can see that we're basically just popping between this midline and this general support down here, which has been kind of offloaded to this support, right? So this is really local support. And if we zoom in, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. We have this wick over here, and then we have this wick here and this wick here, and we're just reacting on this kind of diagonal midline. We didn't break down here to the 37,500 that I was hoping for. I was hoping for a nice potential buy down there. And I'm still thinking that we might have the chance to break down to 35,000, 35,500-ish. If we do break down into this area, this might be a good buy zone for me, just in case we do get kind of a fake out and then a pop up as we break this formation over the coming days. Just playing in the middle of the range here, I don't really feel compelled to do anything. We are kind of in the bottom of it. You can see more towards my green support lines than these, pink resistance lines. But the fact that we're getting just wedged in here and that we are on the underside, it just makes me think that we have a little bit more of a chance to pop down than popping up. And so I just want to see how this plays out before I take any major position. And if we wanted to take a look at this in a different way, we could see our, these critical horizontal supports that I had marked out previously. Call it kind of the golden zone here for Bitcoin during this period, because if you take a look at it on the 5-day, you can definitely see that we get a lot of reactions here, right? So we reacted here, bounced down, broke through it, got under it, but we came back to it, right? We kind of had to retest it. And we did get this bounce down here, and then we came up to here, got rejected. So we kept bouncing off this quite a bit, to be honest, in this area. And finally, we got rejected here, tried for it again, bounced up, used it as support, bounced up, crashed down, used it as support, bounced, crashed, used it as support, broke through it, came back up to test it again, kept going, bounced off it after breaking through, and we're still using it as this kind of support. So I'm not 100% sure what it is about this area. I do think it may be related to the hash rate, that was kind of established around these times, and I'm really open-minded that we may be putting in kind of this midterm, kind of macro low in this area. I'm not thinking that we are going to just crash to hell. Just, I'm using that theory as we go along. But Yeah, sorry, I'm just thinking while I'm making this video. It's just this area has been so reactive and it's been holding so well. Just, yeah, if we lose this area, I'm going to be concerned. But at the same time, I have to keep an open mind that we could just bounce off this area. And there's more, there's as much to think that we could bounce off this area as there is to think that we could break down below it. And, so far it's doing a pretty good job at supporting us. So I'm going to keep these lines. It's very interesting. We're in the dead center right now. If we go to the daily, again, we're just in this type of wedge pattern. And, I think, again, I'm going to keep this kind of buy zone down here because so far, when we break down below this area, we tend to want to come back to it, right? I mean, this whole formation, every time we break below this area, we tend to want to come back to it. So, if I see kind of a trend, just spitballing here, if I see kind of a trend like this, where this is just kind of an important area for a breakdown, important area for a breakdown from this line, right? And this was an important area when we broke down from that line. And then this was, yeah, I mean, the next place that I would expect for a really good buy would be in this $35,500 to $36,000 area. And we haven't broken down here, but it looks like it's a good place for capitulation, doesn't it? You can see we broke down once, broke down twice, broke down 3 times, capitulated on it, and then went up. Broke down once, broke down twice, broke down 3 times, broke down 4 times, capitulated on it, and broke up, right? Even on this little formation, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pow, on the daily. So we have approximately 1, 2, and we haven't put in a third one yet. Not really. You might consider this one to be a third one. I mean, it would be fair. But just my thinking is that if we're going to use this area as support, and if we do have kind of this, this type of horizontal just zone that's acting as support, then I would expect us to break down at least one more time. Maybe, a really scary one, and then pop up, right? And this isn't really what I wanted to get into today. I'm just thinking out loud while I'm recording this. But anyway, moving on to what I wanted to show you. Something interesting is happening in stocks today. It just hasn't happened in about maybe a couple weeks. So it's kind of interesting to see where we have the VIX breaking down, right? So this is the Volatility Index. And you can see it's broken down from my critical zone, right? So this critical zone that I've had marked off for all this time, ever since we got into the zone up here. And, we had broken down these levels over here. So this was what was making the market extremely unstable. And of course, we'd prefer to be down here in this nice cool area where stocks can just trade very happily. But we're breaking down from this ultra high area that looked like it was going to threaten to just, rocket to outer space. I mean, nuclear war, right? I mean, that'll kind of do it for you. But this could just be a trend like this. And maybe we're going to pop back up. But just watching it, because as this volatility goes down, stocks are going to have a chance to try to make a little recovery. And you can see here, Europe's doing it. Europe's getting these little bounces I'm assuming this is tomorrow's stock. Sorry, it's like 5 a.m. here. Yeah, this is the 11th. So they are building up on their previous bounce. I mean, on their pullback. UK, same story. Let's see, this should be S&P futures. Yeah, S&P futures. Here's a higher low, and maybe a little bit of a well. We're not doing anything amazing here, right? We still got this kind of. This is pretty deadly. This thing could want to come down still, but we are getting that bounce, and maybe with European stocks just getting a little bit of a buoyancy here, and the VIX coming down. Maybe we're going to have just a little bit of a calm in the storm. Yeah, Korea not looking great, but it's still having its support, right? These things aren't breaking down further. That's the key point. Nasdaq still following my lines. Let's hope it holds. If Nasdaq does this, then crypto would be in a pretty okay spot. Let's see here. Russell 2000 getting a little bounce. Nothing amazing. Okay, yeah, this is still on the 10th. But yeah, so the S&P 500, the spider here, kind of, I marked this out almost a month ago. This was my theory of what might happen if we didn't get a nice bounce off of that, huge candle we had that one day. And we didn't end up going this way. It looks like we're almost exactly following this line that I drew out. And so that could foretell perhaps us coming down a bit more. And again, not seeing anything too interesting on the American stocks here. But Europe's getting a nice bounce, and the volatility is coming down. So maybe the American stocks will follow through with a little bit of a bounce also, and that could make for an interesting weekend. Just wanted to point that out. I think we're seeing a couple things pop off here in crypto. Let's see. Yeah, KDA. My KDA did a nice. You can see how long I've been tracking this one since the very bottom, right? It's the very bottom. 36. When I was made aware of it by my friend Crypto Retta, just an amazing researcher, gave me a tip on this one, and I've just been tracking it the whole way up, that whole 7,000%, but not too much money in it, unfortunately. But good enough, good enough to cover all of, my other losses at least. So, you know, good old KDA. And then I sold in this area. You see my sell box was up here. Did it hit? Yeah, it did hit. What did I sell at? Yeah, around 26. Yeah, not the very top, not at 28, but around 26-ish. And just watching it go down, started to get back into it a little bit. And it looks like it's pretty ready to go in. I've been following it this entire month. You can see this kind of box that I set to observe it. All right, back here when we made this higher low back here. So this is actually a good good sign. We've broken this macro downtrend on it, at least on the log scale. Just broke out of there. Yeah, the linear chart is a little bit more difficult to understand. So we did break out of that also, but we broke out of it many times, right? You can just move this line wherever you want to. Every time we break out of it, we have a pop-up. And so conceivably, you could move the line here on the linear chart. And then wherever we retrace to on here, if we pop out again, you can probably assume there's going to be another nice pop, right? Like this is how KDA trades. So I've been trading it for a while. It does some interesting stuff, but when it moves, it really hauls ass. So you got to be ready. And that was the perfect buy zone, to be honest. This one you wouldn't be sure if it was going to break down or not, but this was perfect. And we're just moving between some resistances here, doing some type of a bullish retracement. This doesn't look like to me that it wants to break all the way down. The log scale. What I like about the log scale with KDA is that all of these kind of breakout movements, these linear, on the linear chart, these are the breakout movements, but they hit perfectly on this trend line on the log scale. And those breakout movements have formed their own resistance, which we're now breaking out of. And for me, that's a pretty bullish sign. Like this is kind of like a double breakout. It's not just one breakout. It's kind of like two breakouts. It's breaking out of the linear and the log at the same time. And also printing this higher low, higher low, higher low. And so you might expect that it might have a higher high pretty soon. And again, this show isn't for making calls. I'm not trying to get you into any coins or anything like that. So don't listen to me. Not financial advice, anything like that. Just this coin is getting very interesting to me again, and just watching it carefully. BLOK, poor BLOK. I was in BLOK from I think I had to delete all of those things, just like KDA. It just became a mess. I think I was in it from about probably 20 cents, and then I got out here. Yep, this was my buyback. I got out here and here. Right at the top there. And I didn't actually trade this because it's just too I don't like trading a falling knife. I don't like these falling knife charts. Been kind of watching it down here at these levels. I did post some advice to take your profit over here when I saw how much it pumped, and some of these guys were laughing at me. Imagine taking your profit right here. Yeah, well, that was like that was like half a month ago, and you probably should have taken your profit there, right? You could have bought a lot more block if you wanted to stay in block, right, on the retracement. Because look at how block retraces, right? It fully retraces. It retraces the full movement. So, I mean, at least comes down 50%. So why not take your profit? Definitely the whales in this coin are taking their profit, that's for sure, because they're dumping on you. And yeah, so don't laugh at people when they tell you to take profit. Just take your profit and then buy in at the retrace if you want to keep in the project, Increase the number of coins that you have, right? It's the name of the game. But this is looking, it actually looks okay. Actually looks okay. Not the worst. It definitely looks better than it looked before. But is it doing something like this? That'd be the concern. Is it doing something like this up here? Yeah, I don't like these falling knife charts. KDA is a little bit different because it's built a lot of support in this area. You know, it has a lot of support over here, over here, over here, over here, and it's got like a double breakout going on. So it's not, I don't consider this a falling knife anymore. It was a falling knife here for sure, but now it doesn't look like a falling knife anymore. I mean, these things can be fragile, but yeah, I'm getting pretty interested again. At least for a kind of like a larger cap play. I do like that it's been pumping while Bitcoin pumps. So that's a good sign because a lot of things just aren't pumping when Bitcoin pumps. They're just doing nothing or dying. Right? Like Sol. Not Solana, but the other Sol. Yikes. What is this pointing to? All right. Okay, that's the linear. It's the linear drawing. Yep, broke down from that. So this is kind of the linear trend that was going on. Maybe it wasn't drawn perfectly. Yeah, this just such a steep incline. It's still on track for a linear support here. But yeah, it's getting pretty bottomed out there. Not terrible. You see, this is why moving averages are important. You know, you get too far up, you come back down to your average, you know, and you can crash down hard too. You can get below these. I mean, those were just hypothetical diagonal supports, but you can understand like how things might average along. And these diagonal channels that it kind of develops. I mean, it could have another one. Maybe even a breakdown, total breakdown. What would that suggest? Something like this? 75 cents? Yeah, I guess. Could just get back to this area. Maybe the top of it. Just looking for coins that might have some value. Some value in them. Luna's just going nuts. Look at that retracement. Luna, you can see its trend line. It's just right on track. It's right on track. Just chugging along, right on track. Log scale. Log scale, the picture's the same. Just looks perfectly on track. Big swings. You see these kind of like ups and downs, big swings. But that's what makes the average such a nice line because it has its corrections. It builds in corrections constantly. All right. This kind of upswing balances this low swing, and this swing balances that one. This upswing gets balanced by this one. It's a very balanced chart compared to some other things. Anyway, I didn't want to spend too much time on this, just trying to point out that there does seem to be a little bit room in the market for some possible extra bullishness, at least with stocks on the European side at a minimum. which might end up carrying over to the US side. Not sure. And this volatility is going down enough to provide a little extra room for the bulls to play around with. Now it is Friday, so I guess things will be closing up pretty quickly, and then the weekend is going to be left to the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week exchanges for crypto, and that means that a lot of shenanigans can be at play. So keep your eyes open for some fake outs. Double check perhaps the CME, and we'll see how it goes, huh? But this might not be as much of a pullback as we think in this volatility. If you take a look at this pattern, you can kind of see pump way up high, scoot down, make a cup, pump again. Just seeing this kind of after this swoop and pump up, there's often this kind of pullback and then an extra pump. Kind of this W. It's kind of a cup and handle. I mean, really jagged one. And you can kind of see it happening here. Came up here, kind of maxed out in this area. And then we're kind of swooping down. And so are we going to pump up again and have some extra volatility? If we did that, probably stocks would continue their bearish drive. But at least for right now, the bulls have a little bit of reprieve. They have a little bit of space to breathe and try to take control a little bit if they can. And not sure if they will, but this is just giving them a little breathing space. Okay, guys, that was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.